Hi, my name is Rachel and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a sort of challenge. Lately, I've found that I have had a lot of trouble concentrating on reading or just like being productive for more than 10 minutes at a time. This could be due to a number of things. It could just be overall life stressors, undiagnosed ADHD, the fact that I am addicted to doom scrolling at the moment due to the state of the world that we live in. Unfortunately, I don't think I can control all of the factors that could be causing this. However, I think one of the factors might be my environment. So for this challenge, I thought it would be interesting to see if I can be more productive if I read for 2 hours at the library or if I read for 2 hours at home. So for this challenge, I'm going to essentially just go to the library, read there for 2 hours straight. I will mark down whatever page I start on and then mark down whatever page I end off on and see how many pages I can get done during that 2 hour period. And I will try to stay off of my phone the entire time that I'm there, unless I'm filming like a B-roll clip. And then I will repeat the experiment again the next day at home to see how much I can read for 2 hours while I'm still in my house. Again, I will write down what page I'm on when I start reading and then what page I'm on when I'm finished reading for that 2 hour time period while I'm at my house. The main purpose of this vlog that I want to achieve is to just try to encourage myself to focus more on reading, because when I am reading, I'm getting very distracted. I will read maybe 3 or 4 pages without looking away, but then I'll put my book down and check my phone, or I'll look at the TV, or I'll put something on TV, or I'll start scrolling on Instagram. Like, it's just getting really bad. And so I think that this will be a fun way to change up my environment. I feel like reading at the library will just have a really good effect on my productivity as far as reading goes, because other people will be there. It's the library, so it will be surrounded by other people who are reading, hopefully other people who are working. And then after having a productive day at the library, I want to see if I can carry that over into being productive at home the next day. I know that there are going to be a lot of different factors that contribute to how much reading I can get done in a 2 hour time period. With that being said, I may end up repeating the experiment again in the future. So for now, I'm just going to do 1 day at the library versus 1 day at home. I will try to have my reading setup be the same for each day. So I'm going to bring my iPad to the library and I will put up a focus timer and I will just let it run with either 30-10 or maybe like 25-5 and just let that go. And I will try to have the same drink. So if I have water, I'll have water, or if I have water and coffee, I'll have those both times. The only thing I'm not going to be able to duplicate is like ambient noise from the library. I'm obviously not going to be able to bring that into my house, but I do have an app on my phone called Forest app, and one of the options is like bustling cafe, so I might turn it down really low so it just feels like the sound of other people, to kind of mimic that like ambiance of being in public. So I will try to keep my like reading space as similar as I can at the library and then duplicate it again at home, like I said. I will also attempt to note down every time I pick up my phone. So I think I'll have either like a little notepad or a post-it note with me. And if I catch myself picking up my phone, I will just make a tally mark, put it down, and then put my nose back to the page and try to force myself into staying in the groove of like reading and being productive. I will be interested to see if I end up having more distractions at home in a very secluded, like solo environment here, or if I will get more distracted when I'm out at the library, because there will literally be other people and lots of other noises that like I can't control. I have a feeling that being in public is going to kind of really encourage me to like look studious and read my book and like not be fucking around on my phone at the library. And I think being at home, even though like it is quiet, because during the day when my son is at school and my husband's at work, like I'm the only one here other than my cats. So I think I'm gonna be more likely to like dick around on my phone when I'm at home. But at the end of this video, I will kind of go over some notes about how I felt during each session, if I felt productive, how many pages I managed to read during each 2-hour session. And I will go over, like, again, if I take tally of how many times I pick up my phone, we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll come to a conclusion about my reading habits. Hopefully at the end, this will help open my eyes to some things. And my hope from this is essentially to kind of figure out what it is exactly that's causing me to pick up my phone, if it's my environment or if I need to consider other factors when I'm reading. Okay, let's skip forward to day 1 at the library. Okay, I'm done at the library. I feel like it went well. I took notes on my progress, which I will update you with when I compare them at the end. So I'll see you again on another day. Hi. Okay, so I'm gonna film day 2 of this challenge, reading at home and seeing if I can be productive for 2 hours, more so than at the library. I am suffering. I have a pinched nerve, and I went to the doctors. They said that I have muscle knots that are so bad that it's causing my entire neck and arm to spasm, which is why it hurts so bad. So I will be not moving from this bed. But I figured since I'm not gonna really leave or go anywhere or do anything other than sit here anyways, I could film my 2-hour challenge. Last night I was reading Slewfoot in bed, and I have about 8 minutes left in a chapter. I literally fell asleep and like hit myself in the face with my Kobo. So I am going to firstly try to finish that. Well, I will finish that. And then I also have Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, which was on my October Spookopoly TBR. I started reading it with my son. We made it a decent chunk of the way in, but he has since lost interest. So I'm just gonna finish it by myself. And I think because this has been on my TBR for so long and I've been currently reading it for so long, that I really would like to try to focus on this today and Slewfoot. According to my Kobo, I have 4 hours left on Slewfoot, and this is middle grade, and I don't know how long that will take me, but again, I'm only gonna read for 2 hours. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is finish this chapter just because I am in the middle of a chapter. And then if the next chapter isn't super long, I might read that one too for the first sprint, just so I can have like one book in one sprint. And then for the second sprint, I will switch to Alcatraz for the rest of the sprints. And I did manage to pull myself together a little bit this morning to grab some coffee at Dunkin', and I just took a nice hot shower. I am on muscle relaxers, so there's a strong possibility that I fall asleep during these sprints. I'm gonna do my best. I'm trying to counteract it with the coffee. Also, I don't think I said this before when I filmed day 1 at the library, but the sprints that I'm going to be doing are 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, and then the last sprint I'm gonna do 30 minutes, because from start to finish that's 2 hours. So I'll get essentially 3 5-minute breaks between sprints, and then the last sprint, obviously once I'm done, like I can break for however long I want. So my first order of business is going to be to find some ambiance to listen to on the TV, because my house is too quiet. And I was going to open the window because it's supposed to be rainy today, but it's kind of humid out there because I live in the south and I don't really want to be like sticky sweaty. And also my neighbors were yelling and fighting a little bit ago, so I don't really want to hear them either. So I'm gonna do that, start the timer, and start reading. Okay, I'm in my first break. I'm about to start the timer for the next session because I had to pause my break timer because these muscle relaxers hurt my tummy a little bit. I won't say more than that, so I'll just let you know once my break started. I paused the break timer because I knew I was not going to be done breaking in 5 minutes. However, I'm just going to skip the break and move to the next part of the timer since I've had more than 5 minutes. My mouth is also really dry. I wonder if that's like a common side effect of muscle relaxers. I think the one I'm taking is called tizanidone, one of those two options. Yeah, I also almost fell asleep. Like, I don't feel tired. Like, mentally, I'm awake, like I'm here, but like leaning back and reading, my body was just like, oh, now would be a great time for a nap. And I was like, no, stop. Open your eyes. You need to read. So I'm definitely fighting that at the moment. And I will say that I feel like I was pretty much in the zone for the first sprint. My impromptu break, however, has destroyed my flow. So I hope that the second sprint will get me back in the zone where I need to be so I can continue reading. Hi. So it's been a few hours. So what had happened was I fell asleep. I was reading, I did 2 sprints that were 25-minute sprints with a 5-minute break, and then 25-minute sprints. And then after the second sprint, I decided to take a quick nap because I am obviously taking painkillers for my pinched nerve situation. And the muscle relaxers really got to me. And I found myself dozing off so much in the second sprint that I literally like took a 10-second nap at one point and then hit myself in the face with the book. So I pulled my eyes open, finished the sprint out strong. Don't worry, I did actually get some reading in during that sprint, even though I kept having to peel my eyes open. I forced myself to stick to it and read because I'm really in the mood to read. Now my husband's home, my son's in bed, we had dinner, we cleaned up, etc. Like we've done all that. So I'm going to finish off by completing the sprints that I need to complete for today. So at the library, I did 3 sets of 25-minute sprints and then 1 set of 30 to like finish off with an extra 5 minutes before I stopped reading for the 2 hours. So that means I have to do 1 more 25-minute sprint and then a 30-minute sprint. So I'm gonna get reading and then I'll update you a little bit tonight, and then I will come back and do a comparison of the 2 experimental days, hopefully tomorrow. Okay, it's my break. 1 more sprint to go for 30 minutes. I did start having my eyes droop that sprint because I took more muscle relaxers after dinner. So I'm fighting the drugged coma. But I sat up. I'm not on the pillow anymore because my head was on the pillow. So that was definitely causing the eye droopage. I sat up. I'm not going to sit on the pillow for this sprint. I'll just sit up here and finish off strong. And then, yeah, 30 minutes is a good time, especially for the middle grade that I'm reading, because obviously I read middle grade a lot faster than adults, and it's going great. I think I read 2.5 chapters in 25 minutes. So I'm hoping I can read 3, maybe 3.5 if they're short chapters in the next sprint. I would have loved to have finished this book today, but there's no way I'm going to read 92 pages in 30 minutes. So I'll have to finish it tomorrow, but I'm glad to finally be making progress on this now that my son officially gave me permission to read it without him because he said he didn't want to finish it. So I'll have to read it to him another time. Okay, I just finished my 30-minute sprint. Towards the end of that one, my eyes did start drooping again. It's 9:30 at night. The drug coma is creeping up on me. So after this clip, I'm going to pass out and do a proper outro tomorrow. I only have 60 pages left, so I'm definitely going to finish this tomorrow. Mark my words. But that's not part of the experiment because I'm not reading it during the experimental time. So tomorrow we will compare the notes that I took in my Kobo. I took notes for each day. I have a tally of every time I picked up my phone in the middle of a sprint. I didn't count picking up my phone during the breaks, of course, because I was on a break. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about some notes about how I felt during the sprints at each location and the conclusion that I've come to. See you tomorrow. So for my library versus home productivity reading challenge, that is a mouthful. But for this challenge, I read 2 hours at the library and 2 hours at home. Each time I did 3 25-minute sprints followed by 5-minute breaks, and then finished off with a 30-minute sprint to round out the 2 hours. On day 1 of the challenge, I went to my local library and I read there for 2 hours at a beautiful seat next to a window. So I have notes for each challenge on my Kobo. I will do my best to put some sort of visual on the screen for you here. At the library, I read 2 chapters of Slewfoot, which was 15% of the book overall, and this came out to about 46 pages. I read 1 chapter of Valor, which was 6 pages, and I read 8% of Tokyo Ghoul Volume 9, which was 16 pages. So in total, I read 68 pages while at the library. Also, while at the library, I did pick up my phone 3 times during reading sprints where I wasn't supposed to be on my phone. I only allowed myself to look at my phone during breaks, before I started reading, and after I started reading. At the library, I found that the noise of other people talking didn't really distract me at all. I had started my first sprint with sounds on for focus. I was using like the rain sound, I think, but I ended up turning that off because the hustle and bustle of the library behind me was enough ambient noise to like keep me focused, because I find when it's too quiet, like I can't read, and then I can't read when it's too loud either. But it was just the right level that like it didn't bother me at all. There were, however, so many animals outside of the window, which in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have sat next to a window, because there were 2 squirrels that were playing the entire time, like right in front of me. And then in my last sprint, there was a literal parade of geese. There had to have been like 80 geese that slowly just walked across in front of me over the last 30 minutes that I was there at the library, and it was honestly really distracting. So other than the squirrels and laughing at the geese in my last sprint, I felt like I was really in the zone. I was reading a lot. At one point, a older woman came and sat 2 cubbies next to me. So the place where I sat, you would have seen it by now. It was like a little desk with a window, and it was like an alcove. So she sat about 2 like cubbies to my left, and she was reading as well. And then during my 5-minute breaks, I would get up and walk up and down the aisle just to kind of stretch my body, because I was sitting at a chair for so long. And I noticed that she kept peeking over at me, and she saw my timer, and at one point she like got up and walked around on the aisle too, and then went and sat back down to read her book. So it was really cute that she was kind of like, I felt like we were buddy reading together. So for day 2 of the experiment, I read at home. Now, for day 2 of my experiment, I was laid up in bed. I still am suffering from a pinched nerve. It is better today than it has been the last few days, because I've been on muscle relaxers for it. So hopefully it keeps getting better. But when I did the experiment, it was a really bad day pain-wise. I was like, I'm not going to get out of this bed, and I might as well just read while I'm here. So I did my reading challenge on the heating pad, laying in bed, relaxing. I put my timer on my iPad for focus like I did at the library. I put some ambient noise on the TV so it wasn't silent in my house. I did have my cats who bothered me throughout the process, but again, I did 3 sets of 25 with 5-minute breaks, with a couple exceptions, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then I finished out the 2 hours with a 30-minute sprint. My first break at home ended up being a little longer than 5 minutes, because an unfortunate side effect of the muscle relaxers is that I had an upset stomach. So I needed to have a little bit longer of a break. And then the second break that I took ended up being a nap. And then I woke up, got my son off the bus from school, spent time with my family. And then I finished the remaining 25-minute sprint and 30-minute sprint after my son went to bed that night. Again, because the muscle relaxers were really just knocking me out. And I knew that if I didn't let myself nap before my son came home, that I would end up being like falling asleep with him here. And I didn't really want to be falling asleep like with my kid here, or like my husband was home after. So I let myself have that nap once my son went to bed. I did my other 25-minute sprint with a 5-minute break, and then a 30-minute sprint to round out the 5 hours. I did not read unless I was sprinting for the experiment on that day, to make sure that the numbers would still be accurate, like the time that I read in a day, and also to keep track of where I was in the books that I was reading. So on day 2 of the experiment at home, I read 5 pages of Slewfoot, because the night before, which was not an experiment day, I had been reading Slewfoot in bed, but I was getting really tired, so I put it down with 5 pages left in a chapter. So when I started the experiment at home the next day, I wanted to finish out those 5 pages, which I did. And then I picked up Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians, which I had been in the middle of for quite some time, because I was reading it with my son. We made it about halfway through until he kind of lost interest and was like, Mom, you can read it without me. So I picked it up yesterday for the experiment day, and I read 90 pages of Alcatraz. So in total, for day 2 of the experiment at home, I read 95 pages. Now, that does mean that I read more at home than I did at the library, and I'm very shocked by that. I actually really thought that the library would be where I was more productive. So the fact that I ended up reading more pages at home, even with the little bit longer of a break and then having to take a nap in between sprints because of my injury and the medicine making me really sleepy, it I got a lot of reading done, which is really interesting because, again, I thought I would have been more productive at the library. Now, I will say that when I went to the library, which was Monday of this week, I was already suffering from the injury, but I hadn't yet gone and gotten medicine for it, and I felt like I was in a lot of pain while I was there, so I don't know if the pain affected my reading pace at all. I did also read adult fantasy at the library with a little bit of Tokyo Ghoul to finish off one sprint because I didn't want to start a chapter of another book and then be in the middle of a chapter. So I read a few pages of Tokyo Ghoul with like 10 minutes left on my final sprint. But at home for day 2 of the experiment, I read a little bit of Slewfoot and then read middle grade for the entire time, which does read a lot faster. There's also a few pages that have pictures. So that being said, I think that I felt like I was more in the zone at the library, but I felt like I read faster when I was at home. I do think I'm going to do a part 2 to this experiment where I do it again, where I go to the library and read at home. However, I'm going to make sure that I am reading the same book the entire time, so that way the reading pace of like the writing style, etc., will be the same regardless, and I will hopefully not be injured when I do this experiment again, so that way it can be a fair shot between locations and not have one where I accidentally took a nap and then ended up having to finish the experiment later in the day. I want to do 2 hours straight at both locations where I do 3 sets of 25-minute sprints with a 5-minute break after, and then round out the 2 hours with a 30-minute sprint. I think that the fact that I read 27 more pages at home than I did at the library isn't fully conclusive yet as to which location I can be more productive in. So I think for this experiment, I am going to, again, like I said, I'm going to do it again, home versus library, and make sure that I have a conclusive winner before we move on to the next step of this experiment. And the winner of home versus library will then go up against whatever location versus coffee shop. I'm gonna try to find a coffee shop around here that isn't Dunkin' Donuts, because they're not exactly like a cozy atmosphere at Dunkin'. I mean, like, it's coffee shop, I guess, but I really want to find a like local place that has like comfy chairs and maybe see if I can be more productive there, or the winner of part 1. So I'll have to do I'll have to do part 1.5 before we can move on, because unfortunately I did have an injury this week, but I didn't want to wait super long between days because, you know, your reading mood can change, and I was in a really good reading mood this week, and I didn't want to wait another week or 2 and then not be in as good of a reading mood, and then it wasn't like a fair shot. Although it wasn't exactly fair anyways, because I did fall asleep at home and have to finish my experiment later in the day. So we will rectify my misdoings and try again. However, as of right now, I am technically more productive reading at home than I am at the library, and you're just as shocked as I am. Thank you so much for watching this video and bearing with me through my injury and these haphazard experiments. If you've made it this far in the video, please leave a cat emoji down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!